Hey, hello. So today I'm going to talk about some of the basics, just kind of getting started using ArcMap. Um, so I'll be talking about file management, and then I'll start talking about some of the first steps that I take when I'm starting a mapping project in ArcMap. So let me share my screen. Okay. Hopefully you guys all can see this. So this is ArcMap. This is kind of what a blank project will look like. None of this in the layers, this layers toolbar will be empty. But let me close this. And I want to first talk about file management. So file management is very important for ArcMap. ArcMap relies on good file management to run properly. So let me just show you how I manage my files. So here's my Elements G. This is like a 30 gigabyte external hard drive that I use. It works great. It was like $50 on Amazon. I bought it years ago and I still have plenty of space on it. And I have a ton of LiDAR data on it. So I definitely recommend one of those. But here, this is kind of how I manage my files. So you can see here my Elements G. I go to PSU and I have a Mount Hood data folder. So this is where all of my Mount Hood data is. So here you can see Hood LiDAR. This is where I store all of my LiDAR data. So I would recommend having a folder that says geologic mapping. And inside your geologic mapping folder, you could have a folder labeled maybe Sandy River LiDAR instead of my Hood LiDAR here. So I'm going to open that. And what you'll notice is a bunch of, these are called MXD files. And basically this is just your ArcMap project. So if I wanted to start mapping in ArcMap, I would double click on this and it would open up ArcMap. But in this Hood LiDAR folder, you're going to want a shapefile folder, and you're also going to want a raster folder. And I'll explain what these are kind of as we get there, but shapefiles, rasters should be two folders in your Sandy River LiDAR folder. And so let's go ahead and open up ArcMap. So you can just type in ArcMap, open it up. I'm going to open up this project, which is what I was working on, is BR mapping. And so the first thing you're going to want to do, well, I'm assuming that all of your data is downloaded, but you're going to want to download your data. And then here in the catalog in ArcMap, you're going to want to connect to a folder. Here you can see my G. I'm going to open that up. PSU, Mount Hood. Here's my Hood LiDAR. And you're going to notice you can see my shapefiles, my rasters folder there. So you should be able to see both of your folders in there as you navigate. So once you've downloaded your DEM, so we'll give you the DEM online. It should be downloaded, and you should put it in this rasters folder. And all you do is you grab whatever your DEM is, you drag it in here, you drop it there, and you should see something like this. It's kind of a digital elevation model. You can play with kind of the color ramp. It's kind of fun, just showing you elevation. So here, this is Mount Hood. So you can see this is the volcano. Reds are highs, high elevation. Blues are lower elevation. So you should have your elevation in there. Kind of the next thing I do is I make my slope. So from that, you need to search here, the search toolbar, and you type in slope. And I use the 3D analyst. Your input raster, you want that to be your elevation. So you click that. And so here, this is important, your output, you want that to be in your Sandy River mapping folder. So you want to navigate there. So here, your slope is going to be a raster. So you want to click on your rasters folder, and you want to save that here in your rasters folder. I usually just do degree, planar, z factor of 1, click OK. And it'll take a few minutes, but it'll spit out a slope map. So I have my color ramp like this. So red areas are steep slopes, and blues are gradual slopes. So you can see that pretty well here. Here we have, this is a river. You can see these little terraces here. And so this is flat slope. These are little terraces in blue, and the steeper slopes are shown in red. And one thing that I like to do with my slope and also my elevation is under symbology, you do stretched. And here you want to do from current display extent. And so what that does is it changes the slope as you zoom in and out. So yeah, do that. I'm going to just leave that here. Okay, so we have our slope, we have our elevation. Next thing you want to do is your hillshades, and that's going to be a raster as well. So you're going to go in here, search hillshade, 3D analyst, hillshade, input raster. You want your elevation in there. Your output, you want that to be your Sandy River mapping rasters folder here, and you want to give it a name. So your azimuth and your altitude are important, and so I usually do a bunch of them. So here are my hillshades off to the left here, and you can see I have different azimuths and altitudes. So here's 135. So this is an azimuth of 135, and the sun is 45 degrees above the horizon. And you can see it lights up different parts of the landscape. So here's that same river system we were looking at. You can see the south side is shaded, and the north side is illuminated. And you can see from different angles that changes. So now we have the south side being illuminated and the north side in the shadows. So I do a bunch of different ones. So I have a 315, 45, 0, 45, 180, 45. So I just, and hillshades take kind of a long time to make. So this might take you, I don't know, half an hour or so to make all these. So that's what I do. I do a bunch of different ones, and it helps out when you're actually mapping. You can get different sun angles for certain features you're trying to target. Okay, so we have our elevation, we have our slope, we have our hillshades. It also helps sometimes to have a base map too. And so for a base map, I usually just use world imagery. And to do that, and you can see it's loading here. It's going to take a while to load. There we go. Here's that river system we were looking at. And you can see why LiDAR is so awesome, because this landscape, you can't really see much. You throw in some elevation in there and it starts to, or even slope, it starts to really pop out. So you can see this river system, see these highs. So that's why it's so awesome. But here, this is how you add a base map. So up here, it says add data. You click on this little toolbar, or this little down drop arrow, add base map. And I usually just do imagery. So you click on imagery and this will pop up. Okay. So we have our imagery, our base map, we have our slope, elevation. So the next thing that I do is contours. And so I'll do a bunch of different contour intervals also. So let's see here. So I have a 20 meter contour, 10, 5, and a 2. And I'll show you how to do that. So you search contour, 3D analyst. You want to input your elevation. You want to make sure that output is in the right folder. So here's one thing that's important. So contours are a shape file. They are not a raster. So we're going to go to shape files and save your contour. So I do, 20 contour, and then contour interval, you're going to hit 20. Click OK, and it'll make you a 20-foot contour interval. And so what I do is, here's that river system we were looking at. I put my 20 on top and I have it black. And then some of my smaller contour intervals, like my 5, I put under the 20. And, oh, what's going on? So this might just take a while to load. Where am I? Here we go. This is what we were looking at, I think. Here we go. Okay. So this is that river system we were looking at, I think, or it's a river system. But so here's my 20. And you can see kind of gives a general idea of the landscape, but you throw your 2s on there and small features really start to pop out here. So that's what I do, and I do the 20 on top of the 2, and I have the 2 as kind of a gray because it just makes the 20s stand out here. It's just kind of easier to read. And I also label my 20s. So if you click on properties, and labels, I label them by my contour interval. You could, I usually place them on the line, and you can mess with, maybe we can make them 10 just so we can see them a little better. Label features, click apply. And so here you can see that it's labeling. Sometimes it takes a while to label them. So that's why I have them not labeled right now, because it just makes the program run a little bit better. And you'll notice that I don't have my slopes or my hillshades on, and that's just to kind of speed up how the program is running. If I had hillshades on, it just takes the program longer to load. So here you can see, see it now, every time I move it has to label it, but you can see that my 20 contour lines are, my 20 meter contour lines are labeled as soon as this finishes. Okay, so we have our 20 meter contours, you have your 10, and so you're gonna have to do this a bunch of times. So your first time we did 20, then you're gonna do it again, you're gonna do 10, you're gonna let it make your contours, then you're gonna go back and do 5, and so on and so forth. And then so you'll have all of these are your shape files in your shapefile folder. So we have contours, we have elevation, we have some hillshade. So let's show you kind of how I like it. So I'll have a hillshade somewhere, and so here, so if this is my feature that I'm focusing on, you can see that different hillshades light it up differently. So whatever hillshade's the best for your certain situation, just go ahead and use that. So you throw your hillshade on, put your slope on. And so I have my slope as, if we go to display here, 60% transparent. So you can actually see through the slope, and you can see the hillshade under it. And you can see that it really makes some of these features stand out. So I got my slope on top of my hillshade, and then I'll usually throw the contours on top of there. And so this slope, you can see this is really steep slopes. The contours are really close together. Out here, the blues, the contour intervals are farther apart, so these are shallower slopes. and you can kind of get an idea of the landscape that way. Okay.